There's something strange about the way people act when they realize they can't control what's coming. They get quiet. They start whispering. They make phone calls behind closed doors, thinking nobody notices. But while you've been busy surviving, someone has been watching. Someone with influence. Someone who doesn't need to announce themselves, because their name already opens doors you haven't even reached yet. You thought you were being ignored. Maybe you were being positioned. You thought certain opportunities disappeared. Maybe they were being redirected, and those people who suddenly stopped talking to you. Don't assume they forgot about you. Sometimes silence isn't rejection. Sometimes silence means somebody is moving pieces where you can't see them. There are people in high places who have noticed your discipline, your patience, your ability to keep going when nobody applauded. They've seen you take losses without becoming bitter. They've watched you walk away from rooms where you were no longer respected. And now, something is changing. Because the person who underestimated you may soon have to watch someone else open the door they tried to keep locked. You don't need to chase anyone. You don't need to beg for recognition. You don't need to explain your worth to people committed to misunderstanding you. Keep moving, because sometimes the biggest move being made for your life is happening completely outside your view. And when that door finally opens, you're going to understand why so many others had to close. Funny thing about power, people think it always has to be loud. They imagine influence as someone standing in a room, making announcements, shaking hands, telling everyone exactly what they're about to do. But real influence doesn't always make noise. Sometimes it sits quietly in the background watching, listening, taking notes. And while you're wondering why nobody seems to notice your struggle, someone may already be noticing everything. You've been walking through situations where you felt completely alone. You looked around and saw nobody stepping forward. No applause. No congratulations. No rescue. Just you, carrying the weight while pretending it wasn't heavy. And maybe you started believing that nobody cared, that nobody saw what you were becoming. That your efforts were disappearing into some dark little hole where dreams go to die. But that's where people make their mistake. They confuse silence with blindness. Not everyone who believes in you is going to announce it. Some people watch from a distance because they understand something you haven't learned, yet timing matters. They don't need to stand beside you every second to know your value. They may be waiting for the right moment to put your name in the right room, make the right introduction, open the right conversation, or simply say one sentence that changes how someone important sees you. And isn't that almost funny? You could spend years trying to convince certain people that you're capable, while someone else has already decided you're worth betting on. You're arguing with people who have already made up their minds, while somewhere else, someone is preparing to give you an opportunity you never begged for. So stop measuring your progress by the number of people clapping for you. Crowds are easily distracted. Opinions change quickly. Today they can laugh at you. Tomorrow they can pretend they always supported you. That's how people work when they only respect results. But the person who noticed your character before the results arrived is different. Maybe they saw how you kept showing up when nobody expected you to. Maybe they noticed that you didn't collapse when things became uncomfortable. Maybe they watched you lose something important and still refused to become cruel. Those details matter. Character leaves fingerprints. And somewhere, someone may be remembering your name for a reason you don't understand yet. They may be waiting for the right opportunity, the right conversation, the right opening. You don't need to know every detail. You need to remain prepared. Because when the opportunity finally appears, you won't have time to become the person capable of handling it. You'll have to already be that person. And that is why this quiet season matters so much. The world may not be watching loudly, but somebody is watching closely. and they may already be deciding where you belong next. You know what's dangerous about silence? People assume nothing is happening because they can't hear anything. They look at your life, see no announcement, no celebration, no obvious breakthrough, and they decide you're standing still. That's the joke. Some of the biggest moves happen in complete silence. No warning, no spotlight, no crowd gathered around to witness the moment. Just decisions being made behind doors you don't even know exist. You may be sitting there wondering why certain people stopped calling, why opportunities suddenly went quiet, why conversations that once seemed promising disappeared without explanation. And naturally, your mind starts creating stories. Maybe they forgot you. Maybe they rejected you. Maybe you weren't good enough. But what if the silence isn't punishment? What if it's preparation? Sometimes people have to stop talking before they start moving. Sometimes a decision is being discussed before it reaches you. Someone may be considering your name for something you know nothing about. Someone may be watching your work without liking, commenting, or saying a single word. And while you're checking for signs every 5 minutes, they could already be deciding whether you're ready for the next room. That's why you cannot panic during quiet seasons. Panic makes you chase noise. You start explaining yourself to people who never asked. You start forcing doors that were never meant to open. You start begging for attention from people who only notice you when you become useful to them. And suddenly, you're exhausting yourself trying to prove something that never needed proven. Let them be quiet. Let the messages stop. Let the invitations disappear for a moment. You don't need to interrupt the silence just because it makes you uncomfortable. There are things you cannot see from where you're standing. You don't know who is talking about you when you leave the room. You don't know who remembers your name after everyone else forgets the conversation. You don't know which rejection is secretly redirecting you toward an opportunity that fits you better. And maybe that's the part nobody tells you. Not every delay is a dead end. Some delays are shields. Some closed doors keep you away from situations that would have drained you. Some unanswered messages save you from wasting another year trying to earn respect from someone incapable of giving it. So stop demanding evidence every second. Build anyway. Prepare anyway. Improve anyway. Keep your mind sharp while the world appears quiet. Because when everything finally starts moving, you won't get a private rehearsal. The opportunity will arrive exactly as it is, and you'll either be prepared for it or standing there wondering why nobody warned you. There's something almost ridiculous about spending your life trying to impress people who secretly hope you fail. You walk into a room and suddenly you start measuring yourself by their faces. Did they approve? Did they notice? Did they clap? Did they finally understand what you're capable of? And if they don't react the way you wanted, you start questioning yourself. That's the trap. You hand strangers the remote control to your confidence, then act surprised when they keep changing the channel. Some people will never recognize your value, because admitting your value would force them to confront their own insecurities. They watched you struggle, so they became comfortable with the idea that you belonged beneath them. They remember your mistakes more clearly than your growth. They remember the version of you that was confused, broke, uncertain, or afraid. And they desperately want you to remain that person because your transformation makes their old opinion look foolish. So let them keep their opinion. You don't need to chase anyone down the street screaming, "Please understand me." You don't need to explain every decision. You don't need to defend every move. You certainly don't need to turn your life into a courtroom where everybody gets to examine your choices. If someone has already decided to misunderstand you, giving them more information won't magically make them intelligent. There's freedom in realizing that approval is not the same thing as respect. Attention is not the same thing as loyalty. And applause is not proof that you're on the right path. Sometimes the loudest crowd is simply the crowd with the most free time. Think about how much energy you waste when you constantly seek validation. You change your plans because somebody laughed. You hesitate because somebody doubted you. You lower your standards because somebody complained. You become smaller so people around you can feel comfortable standing next to you. And eventually, you wake up surrounded by people who are comfortable with you, but completely disconnected from who you were supposed to become. That's a terrible bargain. Let them misunderstand you. Let them whisper. Let them assume you're finished because you stopped explaining yourself. Your job is not to convince everyone. Your job is to become undeniable through your actions. Quietly improve, quietly build, quietly sharpen your mind, quietly become stronger than the version of yourself they thought they had figured out. And when they finally notice the difference, don't rush back for their approval. Don't turn around looking for the applause you once begged for. By then, you should understand that the greatest victory wasn't making them regret doubting you. The greatest victory was realizing that their opinion stopped controlling your mood, your decisions, your confidence, and your direction. There's a strange little game people play. When they think they control your future, they stand in front of a door and convince themselves that because they have the key, you can never enter. They forget one tiny detail: doors have more than one side. And sometimes the person blocking the entrance is so busy guarding it that they never notice someone is already building another way in. You've probably experienced it. You worked for something, believed in something, waited for something, and then suddenly the answer was no. No opportunity, no invitation, no support, no explanation. Just a cold little rejection sitting there like a joke nobody bothered to finish. And for a moment you wondered if maybe they were right. Maybe the door really was closed. Maybe you weren't ready. Maybe you weren't enough. But rejection has a funny habit of revealing what you were never supposed to depend on. Some doors close because the people behind them don't recognize your value. Some close because the environment would have forced you to become smaller. Some close because staying there would have kept you comfortable while your potential slowly suffocated. You call it a setback because you can't see what the closed door is protecting you from. And while you're staring at the lock, something else may already be opening. A conversation you never expected. A person you haven't met yet. An opportunity that arrives from a completely different direction. A connection that doesn't require you to beg. Suddenly, the thing you thought was the end becomes the reason you ended up somewhere better. That's why you have to stop worshiping closed doors. Stop standing there knocking until your hands hurt. Stop sending messages to people who have already decided not to answer. Stop trying to convince someone that you deserve a seat at their table when another table is being prepared with your name attached to it. There's something powerful about walking away without bitterness. You don't slam the door. You don't curse the people behind it. You simply turn around and keep moving, because you understand that your destiny cannot be controlled by one person's opinion. And maybe the people who tried to keep you out will eventually see you somewhere they never expected. Not because you spent your life trying to prove them wrong, but because you stopped letting their refusal define your direction. That's when the whole thing becomes almost amusing. They thought they were denying you access. They didn't realize they were forcing you to discover another entrance. So keep building. Keep preparing. Keep improving. Keep moving through every hallway life puts in front of you. Because the door that looks impossible today may not be the door that matters tomorrow. And when the right opportunity finally appears, you won't need to force it open. You'll simply recognize that it was never locked for you in the first place. There's something almost cruel about being prepared for something you can't see coming. You wake up every day, do the work, keep your discipline, protect your peace, and still nothing seems to happen. No announcement. No dramatic sign from the universe. No mysterious person walking through the door saying, "Congratulations, your moment has arrived." Just another ordinary day. And that's where most people quit, because they think preparation only matters when the reward is visible. But the unseen part is where everything changes. You don't know who is mentioning your name. You don't know which conversation is happening without you. You don't know who has been watching your progress from a distance. You don't know what opportunity is slowly moving toward you while you're busy complaining that nothing is happening. That's why staying ready matters. Not because you know exactly what's coming, but because you don't. Life rarely gives you a warning before it changes direction. One phone call can change your plans. One conversation can introduce you to someone important. One decision can place you in a room you never expected to enter. And if you've spent all your time waiting for the opportunity instead of preparing for it, you'll recognize the moment only after it has already passed. That would be almost funny if it wasn't so painful. People spend years saying they're waiting for their chance, but when the chance finally appears, they're exhausted, distracted, insecure, or completely unprepared. They wanted the door to open, but they never practiced walking through it. Don't be that person. Keep sharpening yourself when nobody is watching. Keep learning when nobody is impressed. Keep improving your habits when there is no reward attached. Keep your standards high even when lowering them would be easier. Build your confidence before you need it. Build your discipline before the pressure arrives. Build your character before anyone gives you a position that requires it. Because you may be closer than you think. Maybe the season you're calling boring is actually the season preparing you for something serious. Maybe the quiet is giving you time to become strong enough to handle what you've been asking for. Maybe the delay is forcing you to develop patience, because the next chapter will require more of it than you realize. And when the move finally happens, don't waste time asking why you weren't warned. You weren't supposed to know everything. You were supposed to be ready. Let other people chase signs. Let them obsess over predictions and rumors. You keep working, you keep building. You keep your mind clear and your feet moving. Because there is a difference between hoping something good happens and becoming the kind of person who can handle something good when it finally does. The world may look completely unchanged right now, but that doesn't mean the pieces are standing still. Some moves happen quietly. Some opportunities travel through people you've never met. Some doors open because someone you barely know finally says your name in the right room. And by the time you understand what was happening behind the scenes, the only thing that will matter is whether you were ready when everything started moving.